Hey, Android AI Tribe, it's Val. Before we jump in, I want to start with something super important. Thank you. Thank you, everyone who liked the videos, who listened to episodes, who shared them, and those of you who reached out with feedback, suggestions, and ideas. Your messages are not just super encouraging, they really are helping me navigate, what is the vision for this podcast, where this is going. I've been talking to quite a few people in the past few weeks and days, and when I started the podcast, I was hoping that, I would be talking to you, like with you more than at you, and so every time you message me, every time you comment on the videos, and you ask me to cover something, or you ask me, maybe you should reach out to that person. It's super encouraging, and it also really shows me that AI isn't just a tech story, it is a profoundly human story. And so this is precisely where anthropology steps in. And so why this episode exists? Why have I decided to record this right now? Um, Essentially, the bottom line is AI isn't just changing tools, it's changing us, people. And so there are several topics that I wanted to give you a quick glance at, like a quick preview of what to expect in the next episodes. What are the key themes, and what are my thoughts around all of these topics. So the first one I wanted to mention is somewhat personal. So, the other morning I was in my kitchen, I was making breakfast for my two boys, and my youngest is almost 6, and my oldest is 8. And my youngest was asking Google to check if it's going to rain today. It's been raining a lot in New York lately, but before Google Assistant could even respond, my 8-year-old sort of cut in and requested a song. I believe it was Chicken Banana or something like that. And and so, they've been familiar with Google Assistant ever since they could speak. They were, asking for silly stuff. They were asking for like very, very difficult, profound stuff. They ask all kinds of questions. And I also recognize that they don't necessarily see Google as like a search engine. They actually just sort of interact with it very differently. Gen Alpha, that is. But I sort of stop for a moment, as I'm like making breakfast, and I am aware that my kids are already growing up in this world where questions often go to a machine before they even get, shape, form in their own heads, in their own minds. And it was like the same week, or even the same day, that my friend was telling me that her CEO keeps pushing for AI, and it's like a big priority. And everyone has to really, really focus on adoption, and also like exploring and implementing AI tools. It's a really, really big focus. So like two completely different scenarios, but the same fundamental shift that is happening. So AI isn't changing, our tools. It's changing the way we do things. And so this is what anthropology helps us understand. It teaches us that technology doesn't just shape what we do, it fundamentally reshapes who we are and how we do things, how we ultimately relate to each other, and even how we might raise our children. It also reveals this invisible threads connecting our tools to our values, and ultimately our very sense of self. So today, as I'm giving you the preview of this podcast in the future episodes, because of the questions that you're asking that are shaping our next episodes, I'll give you like a rundown of the key themes. So the theme number one that keeps coming up, and it was something that we discussed with my good friend Rachel in a very first interview on this podcast, is really how to bring AI into work without breaking trust and without breaking culture. So that is a topic that I will be exploring with multiple guests. It's a really, really important one. And so, stay tuned, and also please do continue sharing suggestions and ideas related to this topic or any other topics. So the topic number two that I will be focusing on also keeps coming up, and obviously a super important one for everyone at the moment is essentially how to make yourself irreplaceable in the world where machines learn so fast. And the third topic is sort of connected to that, and it's more of a personal interest for me as a parent. And so many parents that I know are asking themselves these questions: how to raise kids who still know how to struggle and still know how to wonder and create, even though things are made so much easier for them in many areas, and answers are sort of given to them sometimes very quickly. And the final topic, so there's like four key topics that I wanted to preview with you today. The final one is how to ensure that AI doesn't repeat the bias of the past, but actually helps us build a fairer, more equitable future. So on topic of leading AI adoption and these fundamentals of culture first, tech second, the leaders often ask what's the right way to bring AI into an organization, and we've all seen examples where it's sort of adoption for adoption's sake, and the leaders rush in, and usually it happens when they see it as a tech imperative, um, or just like a set of tools you integrate. And we've seen many examples where employees feel anxious, they feel like their projects are being disrupted, and ultimately it causes a lot of friction where you know kind of the goal was to increase productivity, but that ultimately that friction will negatively impact productivity. So this is actually a classic anthropological lesson, which is the tech adoption isn't just about the tech itself, but it's about the complex human systems that it integrates into. And so in upcoming episodes, we'll dive into how exactly to approach AI adoption as a cultural shift and not just a tech upgrade or sub-tech project. So we'll explore starting with the why and measuring beyond just efficiency, and include well-being and things like transparency and ethics, and how to make those concepts more than just buzzwords and actually make them work for your organization and teams. The second topic, just to give you a quick preview, I remember one of my anthropology professors once said something like, every tool that replaces one skill forces humans to master another. And so just like with, the printing press actually expanded literacy, and calculators, they didn't sort of replace math. They led to bigger math problems, and so AI will ultimately do the same. It will elevate the complexity, and in some cases the quality, in some cases the confusion, but will unpack the idea of this humanware in future conversations, which is exploring how unique human capacities like creativity, critical thinking, emotional intelligence, and complex problem solving become your superpowers in an AI driven world. So, we'll show you how to become an AI co pilot rather than a competitor. The third topic, as I mentioned, is dear to my heart: parenting in the age of AI, how to nurture creativity and resilience in children. That, these days the world is more sophisticated, but also is really just more kind of catering to their needs very immediately, with little space for like struggle or independent exploration. So back to our breakfast moment, my boys are turning to Google for questions, um, like quick queries and even just like a quick discovery. And they do it very naturally and very automatically. And so someone just asked me if I actually discourage kids from using tech. And the answer is nuanced, because in some cases we do, in some cases we don't. So, for example, like a very systemic approach, our vision is that we are a screen free household during the week. So we have zero screen time, zero screen tech, unless something actually needs to happen, which doesn't usually happen. It's not usually the case. So during the week, we don't like, that's a pretty strict rule. Like, there is no watching anything. There are no video games, and we really prioritize sort of in-person connection, and we prioritize like very routine, boring household things like eating together and then just kind of wrapping up your day for a variety of reasons. But in terms of the inquiry and learning, our approach shifts. So we actually are exploring as a family how to thoughtfully integrate AI as a collaborative partner in discovery. And so in the upcoming episodes, we'll unpack further how to use AI to prompt initial thought, brainstorm ideas, and critically evaluate the information as well. And I think it's quite important to be familiar with the concept, so we're not in the in the habit of completely sort of cutting off our kids from the real world. But we do want to set the foundation that will allow them to do it mindfully and knowingly. So then we can teach our kids how to leverage those powerful tools without losing their own intellectual agency. And the other topic that I mentioned above is all about AI and society: who gets left behind and who gets lifted up. And as we know, AI isn't neutral. It learns from our data, and that data carries our history, our biases, and blind spots. So, for instance, in some hiring algorithms, um, certain groups were preferred over other groups due to historical patterns. And the powerful flip side of that is that AI can also be an incredible force for good, helping us address these challenges. For example, in personalized education for underserved communities, or breaking down the language barriers. So the question isn't whether AI will change the world; it's more who will empower it to change it for. So we'll tackle this critical ethical dimension head on in the future discussions. So anthropology of AI isn't just an academic pursuit, it's a practical guide for navigating our present and shaping our future. It's about understanding the human story that is embedded in every algorithm, every data set, and every voice command or query. So, what questions are you grappling with when it comes to AI in your life and your work and your family? Let me know, and we'll continue this exploration together. Thank you.